Anthony Edwards and Kevin Durant. What a duo that would be. NBA Twitter, NBA circles have been buzzing lately because the Timberwolves are actually making Kevin Durant a target. And to pair up Anthony Edwards with one of his childhood idols and Kevin Durant would not only be storybook, it'd be a great duo. Now, it could be a little bit difficult making all the money work and stuff, and Julius Randle would probably be out the door on the way to Phoenix in this case, but Kevin Durant will be 37 years old next year in the final year of his deal, and there's no reason Minnesota can't swing a trade to go out and get KD to pair up with Anthony Edwards. Now, Durant, and you probably already know this, is quite literally the most gifted scorer of all time. That height, that release point, it's practically unguardable, and he's showing why. At the age of 36, dropping 26.5 points a game, 6 rebounds, 4.2 assists, and 1.2 blocks per game, but to me, that's not even the most impressive part. He shot 53% from the field and 43% from 3 on 6 attempts on mostly hesitation pull-ups. Do you know how ridiculous that is at 36 years old? Now, yes, I know he's pretty much 7 foot with a 7'5 wingspan, so the release point is practically uncontestable, but still, I mean, this is what the lineup would look if they added KD for Julius Randle and then some picks, made no other moves. Now, remember, we'll talk later, I think there will be some other moves made this year by the Wolves regarding Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley, but as for Kevin Durant, bringing him in is an absolute home run. I don't care that he'll be 37 making $54 million next year. His shot difficulty is out of this world, and yet he's still one of the most efficient players in the NBA. We've seen this duo before. It can work, and you've got the inside scoring of Kevin Durant, who can also take it outside for a change on about 6 attempts per game, and then we've got the outside scoring of Anthony Edwards that is also an elite slasher and finisher at the rim. I think it's the perfect complement, and don't forget, Ant sent KD home just a year ago. And this year he averaged 27.6 points, which was 5th in the NBA, about 6 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 1.2 steals per game, while taking the leap to superstardom, leading his team to back-to-back Western Conference Finals, shooting 45% from the field and 40% from 3 on 10.5 attempts per game in the process. Now, I know they did lose back-to-back years in 5 games, and all the blame this year shouldn't be put on the supporting cast. A lot of this has to do with the fact that Ant, he couldn't really get it going. He got locked up versus OKC. Now, 23, 7.5, and 4.5 might not be getting locked up to you, but when you look at the efficiency, yes, he shot 47% from the field, 28% from 3 on 8 attempts a game. That really hurt the Wolves down the stretch, and the game in Minnesota where they lost by 2, where Ant was just gone. He was nowhere to be found. Neither was Julius Randle. He shot 63% from 2 during this series. He's got to get downhill and score more, but he falls in love with that 3 ball. Ant is one of 5 players this year to have 10 or more 3-point attempts per game, joining LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Steph Curry, and Jason Tatum. For some reason, 2 of my Hornets are on this list. That's probably why we're so bad. But Tatum, 34% from the 3-point line on 10.1 attempts, LaMelo 34% on 11.2 attempts, and then Brandon Miller at 36% on 11 attempts. Not great. Then you get to Steph Curry, who shot 40% from 3 this year on 11.2 attempts per game, only beating out Anthony Edwards by 0.2 percentage points. Ant shot 40% from 3 on 10.3 attempts per game. That's ridiculous numbers. That's why I'm saying the outside scoring, the outside shooting of Ant combined with the mid-range of Kevin Durant, and then they can also, Ant can go inside, KD can go outside. Ant loves the perimeter. As we see, he took 8 attempts per game, even though he was shooting 28%. He can also get to his spots in the mid-range, which is the Kevin Durant special, those fall-away jumpers where he's shooting like 53%. It's ridiculous, but he can also take it outside and knock down the 3 ball. We've seen this duo before, and it worked out pretty well. Now, looking into what the trade might entail, I think it would be a Julius Randle for KD plus picks swap. Now, yes, Kevin Durant is fantastic, but he's 37 years old going into the last year of his deal. I think if the Wolves throw out maybe a first-round pick and then a swap and maybe a second, because Phoenix is so desperate for picks, it would work. You need to keep all 3 of those guys we just flashed on the screen, though, because that is your future at the end of the day. And if worse comes to worse, you can just run it back with Julius Randle and then, go develop that core. Because Randle wasn't bad last year. 18.7 points a game, 7.1 rebounds, 4.7 assists. One of the misconceptions is it was his fault come playoff time because he's an easy scapegoat, but he was good. Shot 49% from the field, 34% from 3 in the regular season and the playoffs. Western Conference Finals, he averaged 17.4 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 3 assists, and he did so on shooting 48% from the field and 48% from 3 on 4.5 attempts. Now, he had those 2 bad games, which kind of skewed everything, but you take away those 2 games, and he played lights out. They were 25-8 before the Western Conference Finals since his return from injury. He's projected to get a 4-year, $194 million deal, so if you ship him out to Phoenix, the salaries would match up, and you can go get Kevin Durant. If not, you stick around with Julius Randle, you try to cut costs elsewhere and develop your young core. You use your 2 picks that you have at 17 and 31. You'll have about $7 million in cap space if Julius Randle and Naz Reid both decline their player option. That's what all those numbers are based off of right there. Plenty of room under the first apron and the second apron. But obviously you want to bring back Naz Reid. He's going to have a big-time contract this summer, so we'll see what they do there. But I think the move is to bring him back. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is probably walking, but I think you got to move Mike Conley to free up some more cap space. He is making too much money to be doing what he does. In the Western Conference Finals, he averaged a whopping 4.4 points and 2.4 rebounds to go with 2.2 assists per game. He really gave them nothing while he was out there against the Thunder, and the Thunder took full advantage of that, loading up against Anthony Edwards. He shot 21% from the field, 29% from 3. It's not good what he did against the Thunder in the conference finals. He's projected to make $11 million next year, or not projected, he is going to make $11 million next year, and I think you got to try and get off of that, especially when you have a guy that has been developing, waiting in the wings all year and looked fantastic when he got his chances this year, such as this game against the Jazz where he dropped 20. He is lightning quick, a fantastic finisher, one of the best finishers. I feel like in a few years he'll be the best finisher in the NBA, and then he can also shoot the 3 ball. Shot 44% from 3 at Kentucky last year, or 2 years ago. Rudy Gobert, he's on a 3-year, $111 million contract. I saw somebody say there's no chance they trade Rudy. I don't think you really have a choice if you're going to seriously try and contend for a championship next year. In the conference finals, the Thunder showed that he was pretty much worthless. 5.8 points a game and 6.6 rebounds to go with a block in 28 minutes per game. That has to be addressed because he's making $36 million a year for the next 3 years. Now, if they use their picks well, which they did last year, if they use them well again this year, they could be fantastic. Right? I think Rasheer Fleming, if you can get him at 17, absolute home run. He's a dog on defense, super athletic, gets to the rim, and he can just do a little bit of everything. He can go out there and be your best perimeter defender on day one, and that's with a team that has Jaden McDaniels. And then Nick Clifford. If Rasheer's not there, maybe look into Nick Clifford, who's 6'6", and can score it from every single level. Yes, he's 23 years old, but you just took a guy that's 23 years old in the draft last year, and he was like your 3rd leading scorer in the Western Conference Finals, despite the fact that he played 9 minutes a game. He can play defense, he can score it, he can shoot the 3 ball, was 39% from beyond the arc this year, getting to the rim right here, and then either at 17 or if he falls to 31, maybe you have a little bit of a trade up, go get Thomas Sorber, right? He can come in. He's a fantastic center prospect. He can come in, replace Rudy Gobert. He's not as good or not as big as Rudy Gobert, but he still averaged 2.5 blocks per game last year at Georgetown. He's 6'11", he's got a ridiculous wingspan. He can contribute from day one. So you got to make those picks count, and this is a deep draft class. It'll be easy to make those picks count if you're not incompetent. With that being said, that's going to be it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button, leave me a comment down below, and hit that subscribe button if you did enjoy at any point. And with that being said, thanks so much for watching today's video.